If there were a snap election tomorrow, who would you vote for?
It's a very good question. I'm stuck at the moment. I feel that I'm not going to vote Conservative. I feel that Labour needs to really... Well, let me start by asking a question. How many people... stick up your hand if you know what Keir Starmer's economic policy is.
Come on, there must be someone. Keir Starmer obviously not in the audience, or maybe he is.
Stick up your hand if you think Rishi Sunak is going to win the next election.
Yes.
That's interesting. There's 5 people, 5 members of his family here in the audience. So, I mean, this is... it's such an interesting idea that Rishi Sunak is going to win the next election. But if the majority of us are right, that Rishi Sunak isn't going to win the next election, and therefore Keir Starmer is likely to be the next Prime Minister, it is slightly worrying, slightly disturbing that we don't know what his economic policy is, given that economics at the heart of the problem that we face. So usually when I get stuck for who to vote for, I end up in a really pathetic way voting for the Lib Dems.
Rory, that is an inspiring vision of the future that your many admirers forward. So following up on that, this is from Anonymous. I know who this is. It's Gary Lineker, because he asks, so when are you and Gary Lineker going to start a political party? And there's a serious question there. I mean, to return to what I was asking at the end of the first half, you have so many ideas, you have a platform, you do have a track record as a politician. Is it enough to be a podcaster, even to run your charity? Wouldn't you want to re-engage with politics?
The honest
even
answer,
with Gary?
The honest answer, Tom, is that, as you will have found reading the book, is that I found it pretty brutal, pretty exhausting. I think that we need a new electoral system. We need proportional representation. And the reason for that is we need to create space for new parties. And if we had an electoral system where it was possible to create a new party, I think I would be very tempted to run. I ran, obviously, to try to be Mayor of London as an independent.
Okay, so there's a question from Charlotte Quamby. Are you considering running for London Mayor again?
No, and the problem is that when I ran to be mayor, the electoral system was like the French presidential system. If I could have come second to Sadiq Khan, there was a possibility of winning in the second round. But that election was cancelled for COVID, and I backed out, and they have now changed the electoral system to a first-past-the-post system. And this is at the heart of a lot of the problems. One of the reasons why these sclerotic parties keep their death grip on British politics is because we're not innovating. And look, I'm not suggesting when I talk about proportional representation that we need to go to the kind of full sort of Israeli system. We could go for New Zealand. I think New Zealand did some very good reforms in the late 90s, which have combined first past the post with a proportional system. But it allows... One of the healthy things in New Zealand, actually, we interviewed one of the New Zealand Prime Ministers on the podcast, is that it allows the extremes to break away. And in a sense, allowed the main left-wing and right-wing parties in New Zealand to get rid of their kind of Corbyn-Johnson fringes because people form new parties. It's good for new blood, and it's also good for refreshing the old parties.
So you described yourself in the first half and in the book as being a Tory because you respect the traditions of the country, of which I guess the traditional first past the post system, the way the Constitution has been framed would be part of it. So you're happy to publicly change your opinion on that.
That's been a big change for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I began as a huge supporter of first past the post, and it's taken me a very, very long time to acknowledge that I was wrong.